Hey everybody, I'm Seth Jones, Editor-in-Chief of Golfdom Magazine. I'm very pleased to be joined by my next guest on Zoom Views. He is the CEO of the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America since 2011. GCSA represents 18,000 members in 78 countries. And when he's not hard at work, you can probably find him with a backpack full of weights on a Stairmaster somewhere preparing for his next conquest. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the show GCSAA CEO Rhett Evans. Rhett, thanks for taking the time to chat with me today.
You bet, Seth. Thanks for having me.
Good, good. How you doing? How are things with you guys?
Yeah, we're holding up like everyone. Still trying to figure out this new way of life and how we're going to social distance and continue to do business and live our lives. But it's been quite a journey. There's been obviously lots of challenges and issues that we've had to face, but at the same time, it's been really good to see, again, our members come together, the industry come together to collaborate on a lot of issues, and we're really, I think, creating some good opportunities for considering the circumstances. So it's been good, all in all.
Good, good. Rhett, go ahead and catch me up on what's current with on you got a big part of the GCSA is your advocacy in DC. What's current? What's the most up to date thing here as we're in early May?
Yeah, so obviously, when we first started this, I think it's going on almost 8 weeks now. Our emphasis was on connecting with the governors and really establishing some protocols and some recommendations as it related to golf, and to try to keep those facilities open. And then as the pandemic and the number of cases continued to increase, we shifted that focus. Really just to figure out how we could maintain the golf courses and get the golf course deemed an essential service. And I think we were fairly successful in doing that over the course of, several weeks. And then obviously, as we know now, we're shifting our focus towards reopening, as again, many businesses in America is starting to get reopening. We're working on those guidelines, those protocols to ensure that we do it in a safe manner. And so that's really, Seth, been our advocacy focus. Really is quite internal right now. It's internal with our members. It's internal with the other golf allies, and establishing those guidelines. Because when you look at, again, the executive orders that are across the United States, for the most part, golf is open. We opened, Maryland's opening today, Vermont's opening today. So really we have one state, Massachusetts, that still has restrictions as it relates to play. But you're going to see, I think by the 17th of May, pretty much the majority of at least the golf course open. Obviously, there's still preclusions and closures as it relates to the other amenities of a facility. And those will come with time, obviously. So our emphasis, again, right now is on those guidelines and kind of getting the protocols in place to reopen golf across America.
So, Rhett, you just touched on it, and I wanted to ask you about that too. Just the other amenities of a golf course. I know you don't have a crystal ball, but I'm curious what your take is when you think about how golf across America this summer is going to be reopening, but we've had the challenges of, say, maybe one person per cart. There's no food and beverage. You've lost all your income from your wedding you're going to host. You're probably not going to have a member guest. What's your thoughts on the economic impact that the pandemic will have on the game this year?
Sure. Yeah, when you look at, and of course we represent, all demographics and segments of a facility, from the private club all the way down to, a small mom and pop operation. And so, the diversity of those revenues is quite vast. Obviously, private clubs, many right now have the luxury of still collecting dues, and our members are still able to play golf. They're still able to collect cart fees, and as you mentioned, though, the food and beverage operations, especially events services, whether they're weddings, banquets, member guest tournaments, etc., all those are having a significant impact on the private club industry. And then as you go again, down to the daily fees. You certainly the resort courses, they are in, really struggling. When you look at tourism, you look at travel, those industries have been hit extremely hard. So, those resort facilities, when there's not people in the hotel or at the resort, obviously the golf play suffers. And so, there's going to be some significant challenges coming through this crisis. I think when we look at it, and we're starting to do some surveys, collect some data through our surveys, that a lot of facilities are probably down anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 just in special event revenue. The last couple of weeks or couple of months, and so that has an effect on their decisions on capital projects and other things. But I will say, Seth, at the same time, it's been really, I think, positive for golf. When you look at tee sheets, you look at the amount of activity that's going on where people are wanting to get out and play the game. And so from a golf perspective, talking simply about the game, we're seeing some great uptick in number of rounds played. We're seeing, again, and that goes along with municipal facilities. It goes along with daily fee facilities. So hopefully they're able to garner some revenue and keep some cash flow going until we can open up the rest of the facility, and hopefully that'll be fairly soon, and everybody can get back to business.
Okay, great. Rhett, you guys have been busy at GCSAA headquarters, and I see your name a lot, your name and GCSAA in mainstream media, not just in industry media. We Are Golf, in which GCSAA is a key part of. You guys unveiled the Back to Golf program. You can tell that was a pretty robust package you guys rolled out. And if any viewers here can visit gcsaa.org to see what all the assets that they've created to assist in the reopening of the game there. Looking through that, Rhett, there's a lot of different elements there. Just kind of curious, was there any of that stand out as being particularly challenging to create? How did you create it? What was the process like? Can you give me a little bit of the backstory about anything that stands out to you about the Back to Golf program?
Sure. Yeah, and again, this is, I think, one of those opportunities, Seth, that I mentioned early on in our discussion. We've had the We Are Golf Coalition for some time now, and it's made up of many of the associations in golf, whether it's the USGA, the PGA Tour, the PGA of America, the club managers, the golf course owners, and certainly GCSAA, the superintendents are well represented on that coalition. And, we've done a lot of advocacy work together, certainly National Golf Day being a focal point of that coalition. But when this crisis hit, the United States, I think the golf industry really came together, and we realized that, we all are in this together. And I know that's been said many times as we've gone through this, but, we felt that we needed to be on the same page with our messaging, with our guidelines, so that we could stand united when we're talking to governors, when we're talking to members of Congress, when we're, again, just sharing information with our respective members, that we, again, are united in that front. And so we started working on a program called Back to Golf, and as you mentioned, it is on our website, and it's also on the We Are Golf website as well. And it's really an opportunity that we took upon ourselves to be proactive in reopening golf. And we felt that it was extremely important to have guidelines and protocols that had been reviewed by the Centers for Disease and with the CDC, as well as getting some medical professionals to review these guidelines as well. And so that was really the first step in the process, was to take those guidelines, those best practices that, again, many of our members and others had already established, things that we'd learned along the way, and compile those into a three-phased approach that really represents or follows the White House guidelines on reopening America, the three-phased approach. And we took those to the CDC. The PGA of America was instrumental in getting those in front of the CDC, and from there, they were very appreciative of the approach that we took. They gave us some advice and asked us to make a few changes to what we had presented, of which we did, and we rolled those out just this week to our respective memberships, and so far it's working well. Obviously, want to make a plea to all of our folks that are operating facilities, and certainly golfers, that we all have a responsibility to adhere to these practices, to do our part in keeping golf open and safe. And it just sometimes only it takes one bad apple to ruin it for the whole bunch, as has been said. So we really want to do this the right way. And so again, I appreciate you giving a shout out to that website. Those guidelines are on there, and again, want to encourage everyone to follow those, and hopefully we'll be able to do it the right way and open up the rest of our 16,000 facilities across the U.S.
You guys were scheduled to come see you guys at the Golf Industry Show in Las Vegas early 2021. How do you feel about the status of that show? What's are people, I mean, I know right now, like Golfdom, we got to look into what our booth looks like and whatnot, and it's kind of hard to make those decisions right now just based on the uncertainty right now. What can you tell me about the status of the GIS show?
Sure. No, that's certainly a fair question, and I think you hit the nail on the head, Seth, with your description of uncertainty, right? There's so much uncertainty, and so we're doing everything that we can to try to gather as much data and information as we can. We have enlisted the help of trade show and convention center specialist who is literally working side by side with us on navigating, again, just how to operate an event in this new environment. We're fortunate to where our show is scheduled to be in Las Vegas. It is the capital, if you will, of convention business, and there is the world's largest trade show and conference right before ours. And so, we've got some great professionals and industry folks working on this that are, again, putting the protocols in place, just like we've done with golf, right? Making adjustments to the flag stick, figuring out, where do we need to minimize touch points and take those away, and how will we, infuse virtual technology into a live event, and how do those coexist. And so all of those things, Seth, are being discussed now, and we're certainly, working with our partners. When I say partners, I look at the other larger industry events, whether it's the PGA Merchandise Show that goes on before ours. You look at the major championships, whether it's the Masters, the US Open, the PGA Championship. Those are all massive events, and they've got some of the best and brightest minds working with doctors on how to move people through lines, how to queue them up, how do you do, again, receptions, how do you do those types of activities based upon the guidelines and the protocols that need to be in place. So there's certainly going to be more to come. We're going to do our absolute best to update everyone as we gather that information, so folks like yourselves can make their decisions way before January. Obviously, as you mentioned, now's the time where a lot of that activity starts to transpire. So we appreciate everyone's patience, and I think they can respect and understand that it's going to be touch and go. As I've said many times as we've gone through this, we're literally building the airplane as we're flying it, right? Not many of us, in fact, I don't think any of us really have experienced this type of a pandemic, this type of economic downturn, this type of changing of society. And so we all need to be patient with one another, and I think come together and come out the other end stronger. So different ideas that that our members have, that our exhibitors have. We're listening to those, and I'm confident that we're all going to want to be together sooner than later. I know I'd love to get back in front of our members. I get to talk to them every day on the phone, and our other partners, but there's just something about being together as humans, and to being able to come together and share experiences face to face. So we're going to work on doing that in an extremely safe manner, and again, follow all the guidelines that the Las Vegas professionals and officials are providing us.
Have you thought about that, about the really to got your show in Orlando right before all hell
Wow.
broke loose?
Oh, absolutely. No, and and you feel terrible for those associations, and I know not just here in the States, but we have partner associations across the globe. And you look at Australia, for an example, they had to cancel their entire show. It was in June, and so there's nowhere for them to reschedule that, and so that they have to forego their show. And then you look at, again, other events that have been canceled and just simply couldn't take place. And to your point, we were fortunate to be able to get GIS in Orlando, and now we have a little bit more time to try to figure things out, as you said, and certainly we're keeping an eye on all of the developments and utilizing the resources that we have. There's lots of conversation right now, as I mentioned, with golf in general around big events, the majors, and just getting the PGA Tour open. And so, they're looking at how they do mass testing. They're looking at how they do screening. They're looking at all of these things to be able to create an environment that we can host these events in. And to your point about Las Vegas, I think that's an important one, because again, you look at Las Vegas and really what they're centered around, and that is it's travel and it's tourism. It's bringing folks in to their city. So you can bet, and I can attest that they have, again, some great individuals, really smart individuals that are figuring this out on how to run trade shows and how to do these events. And so we're taking advantage of that, Seth, and working with them. We have constant communications. We're fortunate, again, that there's going to be some big shows that are scheduled before ours. I feel for those that have to be the first ones, right, that get in the water. Because we're going to learn from those. We're going to be able to follow what worked well, what didn't work well, and make adjustments on the fly. I will tell you that the show will be different. We have to look at it differently. Whether it's big receptions or how we're going to do opening sessions and classrooms. I mean, all of that stuff right now is we're working contingency plans. We're creating, again, an opportunity for our members to engage virtually as well. So lots and lots of changes and things to come, but appreciate your support. And again, the fact that, as you've mentioned, we're lucky right now to be able to be where we're at in terms of timing.
Agreed. And real excited too for some professional golf to be coming back soon. Boy, I mean, I'm hungry for some live sports, and to have golf coming, feel like there's some ton of light here. I think we're going to get some good ratings on our fine game. So last question, Rhett, I know you got calls all day today. Your membership, I'm a member, but the members across the country, it's a resilient group of superintendents you've got. They go through a lot every year. That's no surprise. A pandemic, that's a new one, but what can your members do? What do you advise your members to do to just rise to the occasion?
Seth, I appreciate your words there. Resilient. That's a great word to describe our 19,000 members, and they're problem solvers, and they are resilient. They deal with Mother Nature every single day, and they figured out ways to work around challenges, and that's what I love about my job, is the fact that I get to work with alongside those 19,000 members in this industry. And I think they've already shown that resiliency. You hear of stories of individuals where, the operation or the facility wasn't doing all that well financially. In fact, they had to lay off many of their seasonal workers. They couldn't bring back their assistants. In fact, in some cases, they weren't getting paid, and yet they still showed up on the job. They wanted to make sure that they were taking care of the golf course, and that when the time was right, and when people could come back to play and they could get paid, that they could carry on. And so that's an example of that resiliency that shines through with our members. I think, as we go forward, one thing, again, that I would just encourage all of us, and certainly our members, is that while we've been extremely fortunate that the golf course itself has been open, and for the most part, we've been able to get our members back working again, there are many of their colleagues that are on the food and beverage side of the operation, that are on the general management side of the operation, that are dealing with the other amenities of golf that have not been so lucky. They're still unemployed, they're furloughed. And I think we all need to recognize that that's going to have an effect on all that we do. So the more that we can be understanding, the more that we can help one another come to the rescue in other departments or other areas of the facility, that will be key as we reopen, to put our best foot forward in supporting the entire operation. And I think we'll see that. I know we'll see that as we go forward. And we certainly, again, as I said, I can't overemphasize, we've got to do this the right way. The last thing we need to do is get very greedy and start pushing the envelope, and we go backwards and we start seeing more cases. We start seeing, a negative effect to this. So following those guidelines, are really extremely important. So I guess that's my advice for today, Seth.
Okay. All right. Well said, Rhett. Before I'm going to throw a change up at you right now. Before I hit record, we were talking about Pearl Jam. Put on your Eddie Vedder.
PJ, babe.
Put on your Eddie Vedder hat for me. What's your favorite Pearl Jam album?
I'll just give you what my favorite song, and I think it's appropriate for this pandemic. It's Wish List. And Eddie, when you watch Eddie do that live, he always, at the end kind of changes it up, and depending on his mood or some of the things that he's thinking about, he always adds in a few lines. And I think, if he were to write another few lines about wish lists, it would wish that we get past this pandemic, and that we look back on it and we realize, wow, there's a lot to life that we miss sometimes when we're not slowed down, when we're not locked into our house. And so I think, again, what Eddie Vedder says it well, that, we have a lot to be grateful for. And hopefully as we've gone through this crisis, we've all been able to come out the other side recognizing what we truly do have, even in the light of a crisis. So way to go, Eddie Vedder with Wish List.
It's a great, off of Yield, a great album, one of their best. So. Yep. Okay, Rhett, hey, appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and you guys keep up the good work and stay safe.
Thanks, Seth. Appreciate all you guys are doing as well. And if you need anything from us, please let us know.
Okay, absolutely. Everybody, this is Rhett Evans. He's the CEO of the GCSAA. I'm Seth Jones, Editor-in-Chief of Golfdom Magazine. Thank you to Rhett. Thank you to GCSAA. And thank you to you for watching us here on Golfdom's Zoom Views.